Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tracy and it's testimony time. But before I go into my testimony, I just want to thank you guys for liking and thank you all my new subscribers. Thank you for those persons who have emailed me and those who have personally inboxed me to encourage me on this journey. I really appreciate it. So today I want to share my testimony of how all hell broke loose for me to fulfill this prophecy that was given over my life 20 years ago. And I don't know who I'm talking to in terms of who would want to hear this message. Maybe you have a prophecy that was spoken over your life a long time ago and you're not seeing anything come to pass. But I am here to encourage you today that even though it has been delayed, you just need to know that though the vision tarries, wait on it, because it is for a set time and it will come to pass. So about 20 years ago, I was working, fresh out of high school, I started working at a bank in St. Mary, or Cabeza. St. Mary is where I lived. And one evening when I was coming home from work, there was a crusade in Days Mountain. And Prophet Philip Finn, Dr. Philip Finn, was actually the person preaching for that night. That's the church that my mother attended, and I was just basically passing by to say hello to her, because at that time I was not baptized. So as I went to the crusade, I was there, under the big tent. It's like a big, crusade that they have in the community. And while I was there, the prophet called me out. He said that you in the blue, I would like to speak to you. So I went up to the platform and he started prophesying over my life. And the prophecy was that I will live in Canada and that I will get a job that will afford me the opportunity, allow me the opportunity to travel the world. But at that time, I don't know what the man was talking about. Talk about lack of understanding. Because I'm like, I don't even have a degree. I'm working at the bank. I'm fresh out of high school. I don't have any money to go to university. So I was just okay, whatever he said. He said that within 30 days I would get something at the post office. I would get a mail pertaining to going to Canada. During the 30 days, my mother got a letter from the post office. And this letter was from a sister that I had in Canada that I knew nothing about. My father had a bigger daughter that I've never met, but she sent an invitation letter for me to visit her in Canada. That was within the 30 days that the man prophesied. And we started corresponding, and within 3 months of me starting talking to her and everything, she just died unexpectedly. No one knew what happened, but she died. And that dream about going to Canada, or that prophecy, it was like, okay, it was said, and the years passed by and I didn't remember anything about that prophecy. So about 4 years after working into the bank, and then I left and I went to university because of the nudging from God to go to university, and I got the scholarship. I went back to the bank and I was working there for a year. So while I was working at the bank, something miraculously happened one Saturday when I went to work. As a matter of fact, let me tell you what used to happen when I was actually at the bank. I used to have these visions. I used to have visualize, and I would see myself like in a garden, like having lunch in a garden, and I would see myself like on planes, like like the air hostess, they would come around with like the champagne and the things that they would feed you like when you're in first class. And I used to always have those clear vision in my mind when I was working at the bank. As a matter of fact, I used to see like a lot of Asian people like serving me, and I'm like, okay, it was just like fun, like this thing is in my mind, but I wasn't really doing anything like in terms of working towards it. So one day while I was at the bank working, we were working in the bank that Saturday, and something happened to the front door. So I was unable to go through the front door. So I actually had to go through the side door that was at the ABM machine. And as I opened that door and I went into the ABM, I saw one of my old classmates from primary school. And he was like, "Hi, Trace, how you doing?" and stuff like that. And I'm like, "I'm good. How are you?" And he said that I did not know that you guys work on Saturdays. And I said, we do sometimes because of the workload. And he said to me, so what did you do your degree in again? And I said, I did it in finance. And he said to me, you know that they are looking for some economists at the ministry where I worked. Would you be interested? And I said, definitely. So he said that he gave me his email address and said I should send my resume into him. And people of God, let me tell you, I sent my resume to my friend and the resume was passed off to the HR. And within like a month and a half, the HR called me in for an interview that is working in the government of Jamaica. I went for the interview. I was the only one on that interview without a master's degree at the time. And I'm going to tell you how miraculously the Lord worked, because remember now I told you the prophecy was that I was going to live in Canada and I was going to get a job that would allow me to travel the world. I did not know what this job would entail, but the long and short of the story is that this job that I got at the ministry allowed me the opportunity to travel the world. It gave me a position in international development that I could actually help vulnerable people, and that was something that I've always wanted to do. So that prophecy came to pass about maybe 7 years after it was spoken over my life, and I did not even know how that would come to pass. As a matter of fact, it wasn't even in my mind. It was after I got the job and I started traveling and then I started going to all these places, I recognized that this was the prophecy that the man spoke over my life. No, I worked in government, I worked in international development, I worked with International Development Agency, and that was good. Now the prophecy about me living in Canada. In 2011, I went to a meeting, and whilst I was at the meeting speaking about agricultural finance, someone came to me and said that, you know, what you're talking about, there is this course in Canada that you could benefit from. And I'm like, really? I don't even have a Canadian visa. And he said that I have all the contacts at the university. I will just pass on your name and you email them. And I did. And that was the first time in 2011 that I actually